originally from Los Angeles, California. I now live in St. Louis, Missouri, for the last 4 years, and I am ready to go. But
Awesome.
that,
No.
I started focusing my work around physical health and wellness since I got to college, and had original plans to go into physical therapy or athletic training more
Mhm.
specifically. And after life issues, understanding I had a learning disability, not wanting to pursue a doctorate degree straight through to access that, I stumbled upon sexual health, and that literally opened up my world view in regards to gender, sexuality, how I've been indoctrinated to believe certain things about my body and about women in general, and what we should or should not want or desire, and started to learn how to be a whole, well-rounded human being through other educators, Black, lesbian, feminists, uh, teachers, and folks who I would have never had an opportunity to learn from and be around. So that journey, long story short, has led me to the field of sexual health in my profession, and personal workings of trying to become a certified sexuality educator with ASECT and all those good things.
Awesome. No, I think that's very extensive, but at the same time, a very relatable experience. That's kind of similarly how I stumbled upon counseling and mental health myself. It was always like I knew it was a thing, but I never knew it actually worked. And then to see it in action and to see that there's so much more than just the surface level of what we're given to understand. And it's unfortunate that still right now a lot of it's like you gotta kind of seek yourself if you don't stumble upon it. But I like that there are conferences, like we said, like Conversations from the Couch and other organizations that are able to further promote more information like that, so it's readily available. That's awesome. So, all right, well, getting right into it, you will be presenting on Thursday, October 15th between 3:45 and 5:15, and we're going to be talking about Pills Won't Take the Stigma Away, Fostering Older Adult Sexuality Beyond Medicalization. Wow. Okay, so a lot of big words in there for those of us who are just now getting introduced under the umbrella of mental health. Do you care to expand a little bit more on that?
Yeah, definitely. So the original or how this workshop presentation has sort of morphed into this all expansive idea begins with the idea that older adults don't have sex. I believed it. I thought my mom did not get married after I was born, after she divorced her last husband. So I didn't grow up around like love and affection and seeing that literally. And she verbally expressed that she's married to God, and her body belongs to him. So I did not grow up around sex, and just thinking about that, it was just like, my mom doesn't do it, so really somebody's stopping having sex at this point. And I was completely wrong. I learned from older adults in my graduate program and teachers, educators, that it doesn't necessarily have to end, but it can be expanded. And when we expand our idea of intimacy in general, outside of the idea of penetrative sex and, orgasm and cum and semen and all those like hot button topics, we
Yeah.
start to unpack like, oh, how do we express intimacy as we get older? That can start from now until we die. So I took on the topic of older adult sexuality in a couple of my graduate programs, and started to unpack further how older adults are infantilized, how ageism is portrayed there, how disabilities and the natural progression of taking medications and other sensitive subjects affect the older adult. And then when we talk about access to care, primary care, specialized care, even mental health care, how people do not even bring up the topic of sexual health or older adults. It's not in their intake forms. It's not mentioned or expressed in the decorations of the office or the room. And if the doctor is not even bringing it up or assumes heterosexuality, or assumes that what medicine they prescribe to a person doesn't even matter about their sexual health or if it affects it at all, then we see older adults compromising one or the other. Do I take my heart medication pills, or can I take this erectile dysfunction medication because I want sex? Or do I just end up having bad penetrative sex because I don't know about lube, I never had it, we're not supposed to need extra things to satisfy us? So I have taken the idea of physician care and also understanding what older adults are currently expressing that they need and want in trainings and workshops. And I think just across the sex education field, we touch a lot of people that are hot and ready to have sex, but just don't have the tools and capability to get the answers that they want. So this presentation is really going to hone in on how identity and culture come into play in regards to how older adults express themselves. We're talking about baby boomers, the silent generation, how that has affected the way that they express themselves. And then sort of the physiological changes that happen to people's bodies as they age, taking into account a whole lot of things: widowhood, becoming a grandparent, or now having Social Security and figuring out finances and stuff as you get older. And then when we move forward into the medicalization or polymedicalization, we'll talk about how effective is Viagra and all these other things. And if there are alternatives, if we can think about mindfulness first before we think about medication first, how does that change the relationship with a physician, their patient, and that patient's partner or partners? And then finally, we'll really bring the call to action to physicians and therapists and folks either in or outside the sexuality field to really critique themselves as to what in their personal sphere of influence can they change to make their space more welcoming to have those conversations with older adults, and also just where the opportunities for sexual exploration lie, and how can physicians, even if they don't know what they're supposed to say or get right, how do they expand their personal network of sexuality therapists, counselors, and educators, so that if they don't have the answer to the question, the patient is immediately referred to someone who does have that answer, instead of cutting off that line of questioning at the root.
Wow, no, I think what I'm liking the most about everything that you said is that you and your team have a full proof plan of catering to this community, this cultural community, because just like you said, we hear about Viagra and all these medications and all the things that can be done, but we still won't even have the conversation of, hey, grandma can still get it and it's okay, it's perfectly natural and fine because she's a grown woman. And I think that we place a lot, especially right now, on age and what you should and should not be able to do, and the rights and things or things that shouldn't be taboo, considering to you it's like, I've noticed our country has a big issue with, oh, that's wrong and we shouldn't talk about that. And yet at the same time, it's happening a lot. Like it's a big thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a wonderful idea. And I look forward to seeing how that can change and cater to pretty much where we are now. I know it's it's a little different to think about, but like we said, definitely still a thing
Yeah,
for baby boomers especially. And yeah, we just need to talk about it. Just go
absolutely.
ahead and give them permission to be themselves and open about it.
Right, right.
um, awesome though. So then, yeah, definitely with that said, considering the onset of the pandemic, the regulations as far as staying inside, you know, not being around tons of different people all throughout the day or consistently in order for your health, I'd like to think that that community, um the elder community hasn't been too, I don't know, I mean, how would we, what would you say you think their experience has been during this time, given that they were deemed I guess at higher risk for
Yeah.
the COVID-19, and then on top of that having to still try to receive their medications and see their loved ones and continue to go to their, you know, their groups or their programs during the day. How do you know how that's been affecting them?
I can't, I don't do work inside nursing homes, but I mean, in my profession, working in communicable disease, COVID-19 is a communicable disease.
Right.
So we've definitely had cases in nursing homes, and those were the ones hardest hit first.
Mm-hmm.
And it's heartbreaking to hear people passing away without family or loved ones available. Nurses also putting themselves at risk to continue to take care of folks who can't take care of themselves completely. And I think the first thing that we saw that left was sexual health services. We
Mm-hmm.
personally on our team were overwhelmed with COVID cases. So if we are literally needing to avoid people to avoid uh, catching COVID, we can't do testing. We can't do, you know, this, that, and the third. It's
Right.
hard. We didn't have programs set up for mail home condoms or, you know, other states that are doing things like that, and at home testing that just wasn't in place beforehand. So
Right.
nursing homes and assisted living places and all of those spaces are the hardest hit when it comes to personal connection.
Right.
Um, and even thinking about connections between people in the same nursing home or whatnot, like they still can't see each other. There's no more programs, no more bingo, no more, you know, group activities. So I mean, I could only imagine that that takes a huge toll on people's, you know, vitality and their mental health. And also their sexual health, because they're still having sex and still having some way to do it, but we
Right.
can't. It's even more riskier to take that chance in a confined space like that. And I think before COVID, sort of the thing that stuck with me the most that I learned from
Mm-hmm.
older professors was just the fact that it's not nursing homes, assisted living spaces are just not set up to maximize pleasure. I think about like beds in general, beds that don't move, beds that are twin size
Right.
beds. You know, if people can't even get on top of one another on a bed like that,
Yeah.
or they're not meant for two people to even lay down next to each other. And the lack of privacy that
Yeah.
people face with just a curtain being their, you know, their door. All these things sort of you don't think about because that we're just putting people in places and, you know, taking care of them. But pleasure is not implemented into those spaces. So that was always in the forefront of my mind. It's like, why have we designed these spaces to be so sterile and, lack of character, just lack of, community home feeling, or they don't have condoms available in a site, or don't, have a monthly testing day at the location.
Right.
Just, we're not making it accessible for those folks to maintain and increase their pleasure and sexual health.
I feel I'm learning so much already. Just the fact that you were able to, I mean, the bed size, I immediately thought of that scene in The Notebook when they crawl into bed to bed together. And I'm just like, yeah, that bed was way too small. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, there's still people, they're still alive, there's still adults. Why not give them the access to things that we obviously have too much access to?
Exactly.
Sometimes.
Yeah. And when
Those
we
of us who
think
are
about
irresponsible with it.
right, and you think about just the loss of privacy in general.
Yeah.
Like, if I lived at home, I could do X, Y, and Z that I wanted to do.
Right.
But now that you don't have that privacy, it's like we're not even giving you an option for privacy. We don't even have a private room for sex that has a regular bed, or we don't have any, sort of modification. It's just you are now a part of this place and you're going to deal with it
Right. Yeah.
until you pass away.
Yeah, that doesn't seem, I don't know why that never occurred to make sense before, but it makes so much sense right now. It's like, how can you deprive someone of something that the whole world is literally doing for free? And it costs a lot more when they do it versus this community. Yeah, no, that has me thinking of a number of cases I've looked over where it's just like, okay, how did this even, that like an STD or STI outbreak? And it's like, how does something like that even occur in a nursing home under those conditions? And so yeah, most definitely. So then with that said, okay, since you don't have to see people directly, or you can't right now, are there any pending like pros and cons you yourself have about the conference, since it's going to be something that's so virtual? Like, I know it's different from being in front of people and being able to actually fully engage with your audience. Do you have any anticipations about that?
So yeah, this is my second time presenting at SASH. And last year I was a hot mess. I pulled it off, but I was doing a whole lot that I should have been focused on my presentation. But I think it turned out really well. I think the positives from that definitely outweighed my personal critiques that I had. I had gift bags for my attendees. Like, I was doing it, a lot of it. So this time around is definitely scaled back and trying to figure out what is new in technology and in virtual spaces, so that it's not so stagnant. I personally am always a big fan of multimedia in a presentation, whether it's a GIF, a music video, clip of a scene from a movie or TV show. Like, I think that can always bring people back to relating to the topic at hand. So it's not just click, click, click through a presentation. We're actually like applying it to real life, or even imagined, but tangible scenarios going on. So
Right.
I mean, it won't be as 5D with it, or tangible, but I'm gonna do my best to make sure nobody's snoring in the space.
I highly doubt that. I think everything that you have to bring to the table today will definitely be an eye opener. Nonetheless, I know at least my cohort is really excited about all the presentations coming up, because everyone is like, why didn't we talk about that in class? And why isn't there a book on that? And it's like, it's out there. It's just, it takes being introduced to the right doors to be able to even know that it exists, and then the onus upon yourself to further explore and apply. I could totally understand that though. I'm mad I missed the gift bags, but,
It
but
was
I
cool.
know.
It was a sex toy bingo and everything. Like, I was.
What?
Yes.
See, and that's the type of engagement I'm talking about, where normally I'm like, oh, I know to be so excited because this is gonna happen and this is gonna be there.
Mhm.
And what I found through telehealth has been that though the audience, like there's a broader audience that can be reached, it kind of does force you to be a little bit more innovative and creative because you don't have that face-to-face interaction.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to see that at least so many of us have been able to just, kind of pick up where we left off, and transition to this new virtual way. And I kind of in a minute feel like I should stop saying new, because at this point it
Oh
seems like
yeah.
it's here to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think also like a positive around it, as I've attended a couple virtual conferences and stuff. Some of them have mostly been one day. So we'll see how a multi-day conference pans out. But what I've liked most about a virtual conference or workshop or presentation was the fact that I could yes and amen in the comments,
Yeah.
as in like, in person, you're pretty much doing a monologue for an hour, taking questions
Yeah.
as we go and trying to make it cool in the meantime. But like, I felt like it was much more engagement that came from, if you have a good presentation, people are going to talk about it. So this also gives us a space to discuss while the person is talking, and get that feedback that I hope I get from the attendees for my workshop, and create this sort of internal monologue and external monologue, to the point where we're also able to even like raise the level of content, and also just of creativity and community, at the end of the day. And that's what I've been enjoying, because we can't really talk like during a conference. It's a little stagnant unless you make it your own.
Yeah.
But I've been in the comments at other other presentations, like, wow, this is crazy. Like, come on, let's talk about that. Let's dig
Yep.
deep. And coming from the Black experience, like, I love that. I want that. I want us to, keep talking and rolling on, in a way that enhances a conversation. So I'm ready for those little side chatters and things as well. That doesn't distract from the conversation that we're having.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's one of the things I'm looking forward to as well, is that, like I said, everyone's gotten so comfortable. And I kind of low key want to say that we have like the social media age to thank for our comfortability with moving so quickly
Yeah.
to like the virtual and telehealth. But yeah, like memes, gifs, all of that, like they can make or break a presentation. But so far, all I've seen is that they really get people interested in topics that before they just would rather not even either not expound upon, or they just rather not. And I'm here for the inclusion and the open forums and the openness of discussion, because I think that in a way, somehow being able to be here takes away that level of, oh, this is me and who I am, but because I'm online, I have that freedom to delve into the things that I might not normally have done.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm really, I think that that you hit it right on the head as far as how people can feel about it and where we can move forward in being creative with telehealth. So we thank you so much, Miss Ellis, for joining us and participating in the conference this year and last year, and the year before that. And we look forward to hearing your presentation on October 15th between 3:45 and 5:15. And again, the title is Pills Won't Take the Stigma Away: Fostering Older Adult Sexuality Beyond Medicalization. And I think that that's going to be an extensive conversation that hopefully, if I can set up their their Zoom connection, I'll put my grandparents on too.
Right. Hey, that's the audience. So
Right?
awesome.
Yeah, we should all just
Thank
bring
you
them
so much.
along. It'll be like a like the Gladys Knight and Patti LaBelle verses. So
Absolutely. Yes. But talking about sex.
yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Well, appreciate it.